What's up, everyone? My name's Taylor Nemechek, and this is Who's That Saint? A very Merry Christmas to all of you. With Christmas just around the corner, I thought I'd deck out in a little bit of the Christmas spirit. Cecilia, a shout out to you. I have your favorite Christmas outfit on. I got my Christmas sweater, the Christmas hat, and the light up lights. And of course, behind me, right here, I have the nativity set. So today we're going to be talking about a man who is really well known along with the time of Christmas. Who might I be talking about? Saint Nicholas. So the question is, who is Saint Nicholas? Saint Nicholas was a 4th century saint, but his official date of birth is unknown, although it's known to be sometime in the mid to later 3rd century. And he was born in the Roman Empire in Asia Minor. He was born to 2 Christian parents, and he was an only child. And his parents taught him well in the faith, and he followed piously in their footsteps. Sadly, Nicholas's parents died during an epidemic while he was still just a young man, so he was raised by his uncle, who was the bishop of Patara. And his parents left him quite the modest inheritance. They were a pretty wealthy family, so he was well off, and he was determined to devote his inheritance to works of charity and to the betterment of others. A few years after all this, Nicholas was ordained a priest by his uncle, and it didn't take long for an opportunity to arise for Nicholas to use his inheritance for works of charity. There was a man in the city of Patara that had lost all his money, and he had 3 daughters who none of them were able to find a husband because of their poverty. So, becoming desperate, this man was about to give up his daughters to prostitution. But upon hearing this, in the middle of the night, Nicholas took a pretty large bag of gold and threw it into the man's house through an open window. And upon finding this bag of gold, he realized this was enough for the dowry for the eldest daughter, so she was able to find a husband and get married, and so therefore she was soon married. And then over a period of time, Nicholas did this same thing for the 2nd and 3rd daughters as well, so they were also able to get married. And on the 3rd time, the man was sitting in watch, waiting for this to happen, to figure out who was doing this generous work. And upon seeing Nicholas, he went out and hugged Nicholas and thanked him so much for everything he was doing. Sometime after this, there was a point where a nearby city, the city of Myra, was in session to elect a new bishop, and Nicholas was indicated by God as the man to be elected, so he was elected and became bishop of the city of Myra. But this was also during the time of the Romans' persecutions of Christians, so Nicholas, being the chief priest of the people and preaching in this city, he was captured, tortured, chained, and thrown into prison with several other Christians. But this was also shortly a couple years after this when Constantine, a man chosen by God, and there's probably going to be a video about him coming up over one of these days, but he became emperor in the year of 306. And when he became emperor, he released the Christians from prison, and Nicholas was able to return to Myra and take back his spot as the bishop of the city. So if any of you have put together the date of Constantine coming in 306, this means that once again we're talking about a saint who lived during the reign of Diocletian. But for once, he doesn't actually show up in this video, and Saint Nicholas lives through the Roman persecutions and is saved by the emperor chosen by God, Emperor Constantine. Nicholas, or Bishop Nicholas, at this time tirelessly fought Arianism and paganism. Saint Methodius attributes the city of Myra as being untouched to the filth of the Arian heresy to the teachings of Nicholas while he was bishop of the city. And he also destroyed many temples, including that of the Greek goddess Artemis. Nicholas was also a guardian of his people. On one occasion, there were 3 men who were imprisoned under false charges due to the jealousy of a prefect, and Emperor Constantine ordered for their death. And these men, remembering the intense love of justice that Bishop Nicholas had, they prayed to God that through his merits they might be saved. And so, the following night, St. Nicholas appeared in a dream to the Emperor Constantine and the prefect that had put up these false charges, and threatened them to release the men. And the next morning, Constantine and the prefect called the men in for questioning, and upon hearing that they had prayed through St. Nicholas's intercession, the men were set free. And then Constantine wrote a letter to Nicholas asking not to be threatened anymore, but instead to pray for the peace of the world. The time of St. Nicholas's death is uncertain, but it is unanimously believed that he died and was buried in the city of Myra. And years following his death, for the next couple of centuries, there was much competition that arose over his relics. And it finally made it to Italy around a couple decades before the year of 1100. And in the later Middle Ages, there were almost 400 churches just in England alone that were dedicated to the honor of St. Nicholas. And he's also said to have been depicted more often by Christian artists than any other saint, except Mary, the Mother of God. St. Nicholas is the patron saint of many classes of people. In the East, he is celebrated as the patron of sailors. According to legend, he would appear to mariners who were caught in terrible storms offshore and bring them safely to port. He's also considered a patron of children, and this is attributed to the legend of the three daughters that we visited earlier in this video. Nicholas was recognized as a saint before the regular canonization procedures began in the later 10th century, so there's not a specific date of his canonization, but his feast day is celebrated on December 6th. In the secular world today, St. Nicholas might be a little bit better known as a man who's become quite popular with Christmas, who lives in the North Pole and can be found in literally just about every mall in America, and wears red and white like this hat and flies around on a sleigh with reindeer pulling it, landing on the rooftops of houses and filling children's stockings with all kinds of goodies and treats and toys. Yep, that's right. St. Nicholas is also known as the Santa Claus. But as we approach Christmas here in a couple of days, let us remember the true meaning of Christmas and bear in mind the extreme generosity and love for others that St. Nicholas had. So St. Nicholas, pray for us. So there's our answer to who is St. Nicholas. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learned something you didn't already know about this jolly saint. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and leave a like and comment below if you have any suggestions of saints you'd like to see in future episodes, or any suggestions of videos or video topics that you'd like to see me do. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for next week's episode, and once again, have a very Merry Christmas. We'll see you next time. God bless.